Welcome back. That was the press conference in the Pentagon for U.S. Secretary of War Pat Hagg and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and they were holding a press conference in the Pentagon, as we have just mentioned. And during the press conference, U.S. Secretary of War Pat Hagg have said that when he was asked about the target met and the aim that has been fulfilled until now in the war on Iran, Hagg have said that you should not tell your enemy what you want to do or when you are going to stop. And he added that and said, of course, that the main target is that U.S. is making sure that Iran does not have nuclear weapons. And he also added that the mission is going to end on our terms, meaning the U.S. terms. For his part, the chairman of Joint Chiefs of the Staff, Dan Kane, have said that the U.S. forces spoke of protecting, of course, the U.S. forces, and he also said that the U.S. have the most professional forces in the whole world, meaning the joint forces. And for his part, Pat Hagg have said he was acknowledging the current global situation, security situation in the Middle East and also in Ukraine. And he emphasized that the U.S. national security has the priorities, and also he confirmed that the U.S. forces are on high alert or is prepared for any escalation. But he said that, of course, the main aim is to de-escalate. And also the Pat Hagg said that the troops movement or defensive posture is, of course, not available, and he did not specifically mention the location and the specific movement, of course, of the troops. And he also stressed on the that the U.S. side is not aiming for any escalation of. Now we have with us Dr. Nabil Abdel the researcher in the political in politics. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Dr. Nabil Abdel. Good afternoon. Yes, Dr. Nabil Abdel, researcher in political science. Yes, Dr. Abdel. Doctor, can you hear me? Hello? Good afternoon.
It's a bit far.
Yes, do you want me to raise my voice? Yes, doctor?
The line is not the best, but I can hear you.
The voice is not clear? Can you hear me now?
It's getting clear.
Doctor, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Dr. Nabil Abdel, researcher in political science. Good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon. Thank you.
Doctor, how did you follow the press conference in the Pentagon for U.S. Secretary of War Pat Hagg and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff who held the press conference in the Pentagon, and the General Dan Kane?
No, I follow these pieces of news mainly through the online or through social media, rather, because a lot of it is politicized, and what happens is that they give conflicting news. The president says something, and then he backs up and says something different in a short period of time, And then those assistants call them, or ministers or secretaries, and the assistants come up with other statements. And that is how I follow the news. I mean, the news, of course, is very sad. War is bad for everybody. It doesn't mean that there are winners. There are winners. Actually, there are no winners. The expectation was point completely of that war. Before they launched it, they thought it would be an easy take, and that would be the situation. And it turned out to be completely otherwise.
Yes. Dr. Abdel, the U.S. Secretary of War, Pat Hagth, during the press conference said when he was asked about the target of or the main aim that has been fulfilled until now in behind the war, he said that of course the main target was that they make sure that Iran does not have nuclear weapons. How did you follow this?
I mean, I follow this. This is sort of incredible. It's irrational. It's illogical. Because who are you to appoint yourself as the guardian of who should possess nuclear weapons or not? And there is the NPT, that is the Non-Proliferation Treaty. All the states in the Middle East, except their vassal, Israel, has not joined that, And how come that you want? This is very provocative, because it simply says we are powerful, we are going to do whatever we want to do, and there is no law, nobody should dispute what we are saying, and that is that. And then they defame countries that oppose them, like Iran, like Venezuela, prior to arresting the president and his wife from their bedroom. And this cannot go on forever, because even if some political headquarters are in line with them, the population, the people, are totally opposed, although they cannot voice their protestation to a great extent.
Dr. Abdel, also during the press conference, Pat Hagth, the U.S. Secretary of State, the U.S. Secretary of War, have been asked about how long would this operation take, and this is something the war is going to take. This is something that every person in this world is asking, and every politician is asking. So when he was asked about this, he said that you should not tell your enemy what you want to do or when you will stop. How did you read his statement?
I mean, this is sort of out of desperation, because the two main proponents of that war, again, thought it would be very snappy, very fast, and that all it takes is raising some protestations in Iran and eliminating the head of the country along with other senior officers. And it didn't happen. Rather than having these demonstrations in Iran, Iran is unified now behind its leadership, and the new leadership is even more rigid than the previous one. You see, so at the beginning they thought it would be again for a couple of days, couple of weeks. Now we are into the 5th week, and this is what they keep saying every time they are being asked, because as you see, the Iranian retaliation is now getting intensive as well. Yes, Iran is being hit hard. Iran is having a lot of its facilities damaged, but at the same time, it inflicts as much damage on the Israelis, for whom the Americans care only and not for anybody else, no matter what, you know.
Yes. Also, Dr. Abdelal, Pat Hageth, the U.S. Secretary of War, said during the press conference that he was during the conference acknowledging the current global security situation in general, and especially in the Middle East, and emphasized that U.S. national security is has the priority, and that the U.S. forces are always on alert or are prepared. So how do you read his statements?
I mean, this is for local and for international consumption. He has to say this, and he wouldn't say otherwise. I wouldn't find this something extraordinary or out of the ordinary. You know, what else do you expect him to say other than we are on the alert? At the same time, they are losing ground in the sense that now they are giving up Iran and probably most of the Middle East to the Eastern Bloc, to China and Russia, while they are riding the horse of arrogance, of superciliousness, of condescending attitude. So, you know, he is ready. Others are also ready. You know, I mean.
Yeah. Yes, I thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your valuable information. Dr. Nabil Abdelal, a researcher in political science, thank you very much for joining us over the phone. Ladies and gentlemen, that was coverage, special coverage on the press conference that took place in the Pentagon for U.S. Secretary of War Pat Hageth and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. My name is Amal Mukhtar. Please stay tuned for more updates on Nile TV International.